Welcome to BCN Hornets with your host, Nick McCandless. This is where we deal with the Charlotte Hornets all year long. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is Nick back with BCN Hornets. Shout out, been out for a little bit, had a little bit of personal stuff going on, but we're back and in perfect timing. Can I not say that I am so happy that the WNBA announced that they want to add more teams? That's amazing. Now, I understand a lot of people might be like, oh my God, this is a Charlotte Hornets podcast. What are y'all talking about? Dude, we're talking about bringing back the Charlotte Sting. Are y'all kidding me? This is going to be great for the city. Our Charlotte Hornets are starting to pick up some steam. And I say that as we're in the middle of possibly acquiring new talent while getting rid of some talent that maybe isn't going to be around forever. Now, obviously, with that, I'm talking about the big one. I'm talking about P.J. Washington. Okay, now there's a lot of stuff coming out. I'm even reading one right now talking about the Mavericks should pounce on trade for P.J. Washington amid rumors of contract issues with Hornets. I just, obviously I think we've got some rights in there, so we might be able to make something work. But, man, I just don't know. I like P.J. Washington, don't get me wrong. Would I be more happy if we had to swap to P.J. Washington for maybe a John Collins? Okay, that's me. I'm a big John Collins fan. But PJ's going to end up someplace else. I don't foresee us giving him a big deal. To be honest, I would rather just get rid of him and then just go grab Christian Wood. I understand it's not a 1-for-1, but we don't really necessarily need him to deal with everything. LaMelo's going to really come into his own. LaMelo's really going to get big this year. I think he'll finish top 15 player in total stats. Obviously, if we're talking about pure points, we're talking about two separate arguments. That's not who he is as a player. And if people are like, oh, well, points is the game, it'd be like, okay, well, then your argument is John Stockton. He's going to be a version of John Stockton, essentially, with just a better bag of tricks, essentially. Maybe not in the passing game, but in the actual movement, three-pointer, be able to get to the rim, all that other stuff. The other things that our Charlotte Hornets did, and I'm going to get back to the Sting part at the very end, but we've made a lot of trades recently. I'm recording this on the 9th at 8:42 a.m. my time. I'm out here in Denver. But since we last talked, there's been a lot of developments. We've waived Xavier Sneed. We signed Frank Ntilikina, who I like. They're talking about new plans, like facility plans for the future. We did go and get... Oh, God, what's his name? I'm pulling it up right now. RJ Hunter. I like him. It's a non-guaranteed deal. 6'5" shooting guard. Yeah, I mean, good player. Been playing overseas from what I understand and everything like that. So, yeah, we're building a nice little core. I like what we have. I just don't want us to overpay for somebody that we think is going to be great when we don't have the data to back it up. And a lot of people are going to say P.J. Washington has the data. I just don't. The data's on the court. The data's on, where he was and, overall totals and all that other stuff. And while he's a good player, because he's in our system. He's a good player because he gets more opportunities with us. If we were to flip him to Lakers, I'm just throwing that one out there. Not saying that there's anything linking them but I mean, you throw him to a Lakers, he's coming off the bench every once in a while. He's not a starter. So I don't know if P.J. Washington is necessarily a starter all around the league. So that obviously has a lot that plays into it. And I obviously know that we need to grow the talent that we draft. I just feel like on occasion there's some that we should just auction while they have such a high value, and we should be able to move off of them when the time comes. Now, when it comes to the future, there's obviously people I want us to get. Christian Wood, again, I'm going to keep pounding the table for him. Rumors that he might actually be going to the Lakers, So there's all that. And then obviously the big one for me is that Jordan's no longer the owner. And again, Charlotte fans, I know everybody loves Jordan, everything like that. That's fine. Y'all can love him. He was just a terrible owner, the worst owner, to be honest. And with everything going on in the NBA, with us really needing to getting away from being so guard heavy, we need to start diversifying a little more. I like the guys we have. I like the young center we have. I just want us to continue that. I want us to cultivate the talent. I want us to build it and have it be ours, as opposed to just everything they've been doing, man. Like Kemba. I love him. He's great. When he went to the Celtics, I cheered him on more than I did when he was one of us. Just because he was one of those players that you could just see if he was at a better market, he could have truly been a crazy time all-star pretty much his entire career. And I think Charlotte has a little bit of responsibility in that. And obviously we drafted him. We want to keep him, all that other stuff. I totally understand. We want to cultivate the talent. And we want him to stay. But for him to ever achieve and be the Kemba that he was really meant to be, he needed to go someplace else. Now, obviously, as soon as he did, he was already had a lot of tread on the tires, still had a bunch of great years. But I'm pretty confident now. I'm going to pull it up real quick. I'm pretty confident he signed with an overseas team, unless I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, he signed with AS Monaco of the French League. Now, don't get me wrong, we're born the same year. He's May 8th, 90. I'm in December of 90. So yeah, he's right around my age, 32 going on 33, whereas we see a lot of those players still in the NBA. I mean, to be honest, the person that I would much rather have or shipped out and then capped Kemba was Gordon Hayward. I'm not a Gordon Hayward fan. I've never been. I don't know what everybody loves about him. I mean, he's a good player. 6'7", same thing, 33. I'm sorry. I'm not a Hayward fan. I'm not going to be a hater either. He's just not the player that I would have wanted for us to go and get. There's much better. To be honest, I would have much rather us went and got like a Kawhi Leonard than Gordon Hayward. Because the one thing we do lack is a little bit more on the defensive side, a little bit more of that dog, which I think the acquisition of Brandon Miller will help out with quite a bit. But yeah, just go into basic stuff on his page recently. I mean, he has a shoulder contusion. I mean, he's had a bunch of issues over the years. Yeah, I mean, his season high for last year's season was 27 points and 13 rebounds. Hey man, great game. And he dished 5 assists and 2 steals in a 121 to 113 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hey man, decent game. 27 and 13. I mean, no offense, that's a few rebounds away from what LeBron does most games. So for us to be paying him top dollar to give us good role player numbers, I'm sorry to say it, there's plenty of guys out there that you can go and get, 27 and 13 and really do some work. To be honest, I would have rather us invested that money in a real center or a real power forward like a Siakam, like an Ayton, like anybody else other than another small forward. Like, we need to stop being so small. And again, I understand that I prefaced him with 6'7", but he doesn't play like a big guy. He doesn't play down low. He's not able to really contend with those guys. He's definitely faster than them. So obviously a matchup with him against Jokic, he's got the edge of somehow they're matched up. But I mean, to be honest, if that body that, like, say for example, Jokic, Embiid, Antetokounmpo, any of those guys have, he can't do anything. So he's a jump shooter. He's a mid-range guy. I mean, they make their money in that area, but not the money he's getting paid for, not for the share that he's getting of the shots, not for any of that. So yeah, our Charlotte Hornets really need to start figuring out what's next. Because again, 33, Hayward should be out of there soon. I think at this point he should be traded by the deadline. Get him off the books, just be done with him, and then allow either us to ride that into the, a play-in game, and maybe make the playoffs. Or if we just barely miss it, that's fine. Or even if we, end up with a number one pick, don't get me wrong, I would be super upset. But I'd much rather do that than continue to take shots away from the younger players that need it, and Gordon doesn't need it anymore. Just like one of the things I'm pulling up right here, there's a trade idea from Fansided. They were talking with James Percy of the NBA Analysis Network. And it's talking about a trade that we should that Charlotte should look into, that we should talk about. And that's Miami Heat get Terry Rozier and Cody Martin, and we get Tyler Hero. Now, his reasoning, and I'll put a link to the article, or I'll have him put a link to the article in the description. If not, again, it's with Fansided. The article came out a day ago. It was written by Mr. Adam Taylor for some reason. The title of the article, if you need to go find it, is Grade the Trade Proposal. Hornets flip Terry Rozier for former Sixth Man of the Year. So his reasoning is Rozier is a stronger dribbler driver. He is not as efficient off the ball. So here's the next question. What do the Heat need? They need a dribble driver. Rozier's ability to penetrate and collapse the defense would serve the team well, while his relative lack of playmaking chops wouldn't be an issue alongside Butler and Adebayo. I'm fine with that. Don't get me wrong. I like Terry Rozier. Didn't love him when he came to the team. Really warmed up to him over time. Cody Martin, I like, again, anybody that we can cultivate talent. I like anything like that. I thought he was a good player, but that's it. There's a lot of good players in the NBA. There's not a lot of great players. Tyler Hero, for a year, was a great player. I just don't know if, with the small frame, if he's going to be able to translate that continuing. Plus, no offense, I'm going to pull it up because I'm pretty confident that he is listed as a... Yep, he is listed as a shooting guard after we just got Brandon Miller. And again, Brandon Miller is also going to play shooting guard, small forward. He probably play a little bit of point guard. Like, he's going to kind of go a little bit of everywhere. He's actually listed as a forward. Really? So Brandon Miller's going to be the replacement for him? Okay, then I'm not upset about it. I do think that at 6'5", 195, that's a bit light, but I'm not mad about it. I mean, Tyler Hero could be interesting. It could be a way for the Heat to free up space and then maybe trade Rozier or trade Cody Martin in a trade, maybe get a second round pick from us as well, maybe swap twos or something like that, and make that trade happen and then ship those extra assets to Portland to close up the Dame trade. So you would finish with Terry Rozier, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and I can't remember who's playing y'all power forward right now, but yeah, I think it would work. Would I be happy about it in the moment? Absolutely. Now, if we get 10 games into it and Tyler Hero evolves into or devolves into what he was last year in the playoffs, then I'm not going to be happy about it. We just kind of screwed ourselves again, but it's going to be, we need to shake something up. I do agree that Rozier needs to move on. He's 29. Don't get me wrong. It's not old, but now is the time to go get the value for him. I'd rather the Hornets be the Bill Belichick of basketball than be somebody holding the bag. But regardless, I like what he's talking about in this. He says from our perspective, obviously with potentially P.J. Washington being gone and everything, we could use a little bit more height with Hero. Again, he's just not a down-low guy, so I don't know how that's going to translate. His overall trade grade for it would be an A. Of course, he came up with it. But yeah, Rozier would plug a gap for Miami while also giving them some long-term security at the guard position, while Hero fits Charlotte's timeline and will be able to grow with other young talent around him as the Hornets continue to improve as in the years to come. That was a direct quote from this article by Fansided by Adam Taylor. I agree with him. You know what? I'm okay with that. I think that's a good looking trade. I think that's something we should look into. Because we need some revitalization in Charlotte. We're the Queen City. We got so much going on, but there's something missing. And that brings me back to the point that I started, which is the Charlotte Hornets are great. They're bringing people in. The Panthers, Carolina is really having a big boom right now. The next big boom should come with the WNBA expanding the Charlotte Hornets and bringing back the Charlotte Sting. Now, a lot of people are going to talk about, obviously the issues with finances that the WNBA has right now, but I believe that it's important to establish the game of basketball with not only obviously men's sports, which is the NBA, but also women's. I mean, to be honest, one of the things that I hold dearly as a Charlotte Hornets fan is the fact that we drafted Kobe Bryant. Now, I understand it was a draft and then we traded him away and everything, and he never played a game for us. But that picture of seeing him in a Charlotte Hornets hat makes me so happy. And the idea that, unfortunately, with the loss of Kobe and his daughter and everything like that, who was supposed to be such a fantastic women's basketball player, imagine somebody like that. Like, you know, we drafted Kobe, and then we could have had the opportunity to draft his daughter and bring her to the Charlotte Sting and still essentially get the Kobe thing in there. And it's not even the Kobe family. I wanted the Kobe mentality. Everyone always talked about Jordan, and obviously Jordan has such ties to Charlotte, but the Kobe mentality could have been brought there through the WNBA, and I wanted that so bad. Now, obviously, the franchise only existed for about 10 years. It was in the Charlotte Coliseum, then it went to the Bobcats for pretty much the last year, the Bobcats Arena. I won conference title in 2001, and that was pretty much it. They did attempt to move to Kansas City in the fall of 07. But obviously nothing like that worked. Then the Sting folded on January. Okay, I'm going to pull it up right here. It's the Sting fold after months of talk and deliberation between the leagues and investors. The plans ultimately fell through, and on January 3rd, 2007, the Bobcats announced that the fundraising effort by a group seeking to move the team to Kansas City had failed. The team folded immediately, and the players went to the other teams in the league via a dispersal draft. So it went out bad. Also, one thing to note, there's some notable players and all that other stuff. Number one being the only retired number that the Sting had. That was Andrea Stinson, guard, played from 97 to 04. Great player for us. From Huntersville, North Carolina. I mean, super cool. I want the NBA to expand. And again, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, viewership isn't there and all that other stuff. It's like, yeah, but it takes time to develop it. If we want to go back to the story of the NBA had teams, closed teams, did all that stuff. So let's not pretend like the NBA didn't go through these same struggles. But the NBA was able to persevere, and the NBA was able to move on from that. And not only move on from that, they were able to grow, and they were able to cultivate talent. And that's exactly what the college level women's basketball is doing. Obviously, there's Olympic level basketball and everything like that. I'm very naive on the women's basketball in the Olympics, so if you guys already have a team, I deeply apologize. I'm pretty confident y'all do, but regardless, I'm going to make an effort as a Charlotte Hornets fan to try and push the Charlotte Sting, because I think it's good for Charlotte. I think it's good for women. I think it's good for basketball. I'm happy with that. So, yeah, come on, Charlotte. We need it. I think we need to make the push. If we can get this shared out to some, people in Charlotte, hopefully we can start getting the message out more. I would love to have this thing come back. And if that's the case, I'm doing WNBA Wednesdays, where we're going to talk about the Sting every Wednesday. I got a bunch of ideas and plans. Forgive me for this little delay in this episode. I am a graduate student finishing my master's. I also do a bunch of other stuff. I really care for the city. I really care for the sport. I think this sport will do well with so many people, and we just need time. We need to grow, and we need to allow the WNBA to, again, cultivate the talent. I understand that there's still some growing pains, but that's with everything. So please, Charlotte Hornets fans, embrace our hopefully future fellow fans in the Charlotte Sting. Go WNBA, go Charlotte Hornets. This is Nick. We will talk to you soon. This is BCN Hornets. Have a good day.